So today we're talking all about manifestation,
which is a big thing in Brooke's life lately.
I've been really vibing with it. I guess that's the way to put it.
Is it your 2022 word?
I would say intention, but that has to do with manifesting too. So we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I want to learn more about this.
So the law of attraction, if you've heard about it before, but if you haven't, the law of attraction is a universal principle that states that you will attract into your life whatever you focus on. So like what you attract.
So what you give out is what you get back in.
Totally.
Okay.
So whatever you give your energy and attention to is what will come back to you. Like where you go or where your focus goes, energy flows, or, there's a ton of different little sayings about it.
Brookeisms.
Yeah. So in a previous episode, we talked about gratitude, and when you focus on the abundance of good things in your life, you will automatically attract more positive things into your life.
And good things happen to you.
Yeah. And that is honestly we can think about this a few ways. If you're a skeptic, there's so much literature on this that then we could ever cover in this episode. But even if it's not magic, like some people think it is, if you're focusing on the good, you're automatically going to continue to focus on more good. So it's not even necessarily that all of a sudden you're winning the lotto and you're always getting the front parking spot, but it's just that where your attention goes, that's where your focus is going to be. So when you're focusing on and you're paying attention to the good things, that's just naturally what you're going to see more of.
Well, yeah. And also too, think about this. We've all ran into negative people or have negative people that have popped in and out of our lives, I'm sure. And anyone who's negative, it always seems to everything is bad that's happening. Well, that's because that's what they're
focusing on
and producing out into the universe.
So if you center yourself on negative thoughts and only focus on what you lack, you'll ultimately attract negativity in your life. And what you will want most will continuously elude you because you won't be able to it'll be right outside of your grasp because you're always why can't I get it? Why am I not good enough?
So Brooke, so we're talking about this isn't okay, I want $100 bill on this table right now. I'm going to manifest stuff like that happening, right? So how do you start if you're interested in manifestation?
Yeah.
Big word for Lizzie. Where do you begin?
Yes. So step one, we love giving tangible tips here on the podcast. So step one is choose what you want. So I think being very clear and specific on what you want, not just when you're manifesting, but in your life in general, is going to help you achieve that thing faster because you're not constantly sorting through the weeds of trying to figure out what it is that you want.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. So can that be materialistic things choose it? I want to buy a home, or can that be also I want to meet the man of my dreams?
It can be anything you want. So it can literally be $100. You can manifest $100. I've heard so many stories of it happening. Actually, not to give a spoiler. Not a spoiler. Not to totally just put my mom out there in the spotlight right now, but she's the one that taught me about this. And she actually wrote herself a check for $1 million, with her checkbook. And those checks are expensive.
Yes.
So she wrote herself $1 million. And this had to have been when I was in high school. So after I graduated high school, my mom quit her corporate job and went and started a business with her partner, and they sell boats and docks up in Siren, Wisconsin. Boondocks Marine, shameless plug.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was their second or third year in business, they did over $1 million in revenue. So she manifested $1 million. If she would have stuck, so we're getting kind of off track here, but if she would have just stayed in her corporate job, she would have never, and I'm not knocking on corporate jobs, but if you want to somehow get $1 million, it's not going to be working 9 to 5, making $50,000 a year for the rest of your life. You have to come up with different ways. You can still have your job, but you have to come up with different ways, like owning real estate and investing and things like that. But so she didn't just write a check for $1 million and stay where she was at and hope for the best. She wrote a check for $1 million and was like, how am I going to get there? So she set that intention, first of all, and then she made a plan. So we'll get into that.
Okay.
But choosing what you want. So you have to ask yourself this too, because if you want things for the wrong reasons, there's always going to be kind of a block coming from you, if that makes sense. You can't just, it's like the universe or God or whoever your higher power is, or if you believe in that, you know, they're not going to give you the things that you want just because, or for the, you know? And so asking yourself, do I really want this in my heart of hearts? Like, do I really want $1 million so I can be financially free and support my family and not, you know, and take care of my elderly parents?
Have like a good reasoning for it, not
Or do I want $1 million so I can like flex on my ex-boyfriend?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to have a pure intention, and then also ask yourself, like, how will I benefit from having this? So like, what are the benefits? That like raises the vibrational energy of like what you're thinking about, what you want, like thinking about all the positive things that are going to come from what you're trying to manifest. If it's the love of your life, like I'm going to have, you know, stability in my romantic life. I'm going to have a partner who's going to help me get better, and we're going to be able to support each other. When I think about having this, does it feel right? Like, do I feel like the type of person that makes $1 million a year or something, you know, or do I sell, you know, 50 million a year in real estate? Like, does that feel like who I am and something I'm ready to like pursue ruthlessly? Or does it not really feel like it fits my brand? Like, would I rather stay home with my children? And so I want to manifest, you know, more freedom in that way. And so then how will it be good for others too? I think thinking about being selfless in whatever it is you're trying to manifest too. Like, how are you, so if it is $1 million, how are you going to give back? You know, if it is freedom, what are you going to do at that time to also help lift other people in your life and your community up too? You know?
Yeah, I love that. So now you pick
Choose what
it
you want.
is.
Yes.
Okay. And then what?
Get out of your own way. So I kind of talked about this. I touched on this previously, but if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anybody else to? So like, I mean, I remember when my mom wrote that $1 million check, I'm like, I did not believe in her. I'm in high school and like, $1 million, mom. Like, she's a single mom. I'm her only child. I'm like, how are we going to make $1 million? So, but she was like, Brooke, like, I believe in myself. Like, I know that this is going to happen. And so if you tell yourself, this is what I want, but I know it's never going to happen. How would I ever sell 50 million in real estate? Or how would I ever close, you know, 100 loans or whatever?
How would I get this many listeners on our podcast?
Exactly. Like, why would I, or like, why me? Like, why am I deserving? And then another thing too is like, get rid of the toxic people in your life, or even like the toxic social media accounts that you follow. Because if you're seeing messaging that, you know, you're not going to be capable, or if you always feel bad when you see somebody achieving something that you want to achieve.
Don't follow them.
No, if it doesn't make you feel good, then don't subscribe to that stuff. And also, like, if your friend group is like, you're stupid, why would you ever want that? Or like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, get out of there.
Yeah. Well, and I've always said too, like, the people who you surround yourself with is kind of who you
become.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then after you choose what you want and you kind of get out of your own way, like, clear that negativity out of there, you know,
which is probably the hardest step.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I fully believe in faking it until you make it. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
You can fake that you're completely positive and believe this about yourself until you do. I mean, if that's really what you want, you know?
Well, and there's probably some psychology, now I'm getting off track, but like, there's probably some psychology study out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Psychological is actually the right word,
Yeah.
I think. Study out there that, like, you know, people start to believe their own lies.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if you're just like, I'm a positive person, then I guess maybe you'll change into a positive person.
Yeah, totally. Because where you're focusing on, where
Being
your focus
positive.
goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
So then after you do that, you can now do the fun part, in my opinion, is visualizing what you want. So really, like, we discussed vision boards in an episode a few weeks ago. And when we discussed visualizing what success looks like, we asked you to be specific. So this step works best if you do a multi-sensory visualization. So imagine you're sitting there, $1 million. What does that look like? Does that look like you made $1 million from selling real estate? Or does that look like you made $1 million from selling your
boats and docks?
Or does it look like you quit your job and you make furniture now and you sell your furniture? Like, that type of thing, you know, sit there and think about, like, can you see it? Can you hear it? Can you smell it? Can you touch it? Can you taste the outcome you're looking to create?
The senses.
And I think that it's so fun to do this part because you don't have to limit yourself. And I keep saying $1 million because it's just an easy thing to kind of imagine.
Yeah.
But let's say that you want to be a stay-at-home mom. what does that look like? Or let's say you want to be a team lead or you want to start your own real estate team. What does that look like? What do your days look like? How is it going to feel when you're helping other people achieve their dreams?
Do you visualize what steps, like what are the steps to take?
So
to
we're gonna get there.
Oh, sorry.
This part is just the fun part. You just get to have fun. You don't have to think about the nitty-gritty details yet.
Okay.
You just get to have fun.
Okay.
And add as many details as you can. And don't try to imagine exactly how the thing or outcome becomes yours. Instead, focus solely on the result of receiving what you desire. So like, don't focus yet on, working 80 hours a week to start your team. Focus on how it's going to feel when you finally achieve what you've been looking for, and just focus on that feeling and focus on that feeling. And just
focus.
And I think another fun thing too that I like to do that I've heard other people doing when they're visualizing is down to like the smallest details. Like, what type of clothes do you wear? Like, what type of car do you drive? What type of music are you listening to? Are you working out in the morning or the evening or not at all? Are you doing yoga? Are you do you have a dog? That if you don't have a dog, or what do you do on the weekends? Like, getting so specific about what you want in your life and just believing that you are going to get there, and how is it going to feel when you get there.
I love that.
So step 4, now it's time to take action.
Okay.
So listen to your gut and make a plan. So what is the most logical next step to take towards the life of your dreams?
So let's say you want to be a team lead.
Yes.
in a in real estate. Okay. Sorry.
Or a loan officer, whatever.
So then this is where, like, what is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order to get to be a team lead?
Yes. And what I like to do, I like to reverse engineer, and we'll talk about that.
Yes, you do.
We'll talk about that in a second. But think right now, what is the most logical next step? The most logical next step is not to post an ad on Indeed and start asking people to interview when you're not ready. I think the most logical next step would be to meet with somebody who already is a team lead and ask them about their experience. Maybe look up videos on YouTube or listen to podcasts about it, because there's tons of free information online out there. So kind of like, first do like the next step that takes the least resistance.
Because otherwise you don't want to, you might not want to do it.
Exactly.
It seems very harder than it needs to be.
So immediately take action on the most logical next step that takes the least resistance. Then I like to reverse engineer my end goal and work backwards to where I have to be now. And that helps me find my next step. So if I want to be a team lead, that means that I have to have, somebody under me. Okay, that's the step right before I become a team lead, is I have to hire an agent. But the step before that is I have to onboard that person. And the step before that is I have to have my systems in place, and the lead systems. And the step before that is I have to figure out how I'm going to do that, or what is the best way. And the step before that is talking to somebody about it. And then you go from there. So then you would talk to somebody, get your systems in place, hire somebody, onboard somebody, do all that.
I've worked with you so long enough that I know how I
like to think.
Yes.
Totally. Okay, so that's not it though. Just when you start hustling, that's great, but I would say almost one of the most important steps is to keep the ball rolling. It might not seem like that big of a deal, this last step, but I can argue it's almost the most important, because once you received the desired outcome, or you get even one step closer, make sure you acknowledge that success, share it, and spread your positivity, because every single step that you're making towards your big crazy dream goal that you want to manifest, you have to keep putting that positive energy back out there and showing the universe or your higher power, or even just the people around you, that so that they can help you succeed.
Goes right back to what we talked about in the beginning. Like the laws of attraction. You putting it out there and then receiving it.
Exactly. So spreading that positivity of I'm crushing my dreams. And if you're being vocal about it and you're talking to people about it, not only does that create a level of accountability, but also people are going to go to work for you in mysterious ways. Whenever we meet with real estate agents or loan officers, for example, we ask them about, their business and what they're looking to do and what their goals are, because then what we're thinking of is well, how can we add value to them? How can we go to work for them and do something that's going to help them achieve their goals? So share those dreams, because you never know what title gal you're going to have coffee with who's going to introduce you to that agent that's going to join your team.
Brooke, does your mom still have the check?
I would be really curious to know that.
Because she should frame it.
I know. Yeah. That would be awesome. If I found it too, I could frame it for her.
Yeah, or cash it.
So, yeah. Cash it. Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning about the law of attraction, like we just talked about. Like attracts like, birds of a feather flock together. And if you spread happiness, success, and positivity, that is what will attract back to you.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you.